the voice of the people. News Talk 710, KNUS, Denver. Arm yourself for office conversation in the afternoon with Peter Boyles in the morning on News Talk 710, KNUS.
Good to go. Good morning, everyone. Wednesday, the 22nd of July, 2020, 710, KNUS, the voice of the people. I'm Peter Boyles. Good to have everyone here. This is going to be good Wednesday morning. Partly cloudy, says the 710 KNUS News Center. Tomorrow, 91. Afternoon storms, 92 on Friday. Please say good morning, first of all, and bring on the radio show. She used to be my neighbor, Michelle Malkin, and she was assaulted by these Antifa people at this pro-police rally in Denver. First of all, Michelle, good morning to you. Thank you so much for doing it. Good to have you back on the show, and good morning one more time. And then please, please say good morning. Someone has been, I got to tell you, Michelle, I don't know how much you know about Nick, but when we were living up in Seattle and went to Vancouver and had that struggle against trying to stop the insanity of heroin injection, this guy was wonderful. Nick Rogers is with us. Hey, Nick, good morning. Thanks for doing the radio show. And for the people that do not know your job, your position, would you take a second and tell the audience who you are?
Hi, Pete. Good morning, and I appreciate you having me on. My name is Nick Rogers. I am currently the president of the Denver Police Protective Association. To be perfectly honest with you, that's kind of my side job. My real job, I'm a 34-year police officer in Denver, worked Southwest Denver narcotics, and I've spent my entire career out on the street. So I don't have a desk job. I'm out there doing the real job, and I came in as a cop. I'm going to go out as a cop. So that's kind of who I am.
Michelle, if you would take a moment, talk about what happened at the rally in Denver on Sunday, please.
Sure. Randy Corcoran asked if I would come join him, and I had plans on Sunday and was only able to come for a small amount of time, but I absolutely jumped at the chance to do it because Randy was there for me when I arranged for Stand With ICE rallies last fall. It's my passion to stand up for law enforcement. I've done it multiple times over the years. I did a half a dozen Stand With ICE rallies, along with a rally at the White House during Obama years when Obama refused to light the White House blue to honor the Dallas police officers who were slaughtered as some sort of retribution for Black Lives Matter's agenda. I'm the granddaughter of a police officer. My mother's father was the police chief of his village in the Philippines. And so I came out to show my support on a Sunday afternoon, and then I was supposed to drive back to host a barbecue and a dinner party. And I came and greeted everybody who was there. Obviously, there's always risks. Anytime you go out in public and do these kinds of things, especially in the aftermath of all of this George Floyd derangement syndrome, even small family gatherings out in public to support law enforcement can subject you to threats. So I understood that. But I certainly did not anticipate the kind of violent chaos that ensued, and I certainly didn't expect police officers to just stand there and watch it all happen, overhead by helicopter and, of course, on the ground. And while I was up on stage, you could see this massive swarm, this slow swarm just make its way over. And I think to me, Peter and Nick, that was the most unconscionable thing. Because you all know it takes a few minutes to get from the Capitol to the Center Civic Plaza. And so that's 5 minutes right there that something could have been done. And nothing was done. Nothing was done as women who were wearing Trump gear and holding their flags were throttled and strangled by other brutish women all dressed in black and paramilitary gear, one of them who made their way right inches near me and pulled out a collapsible baton. The disparity in treatment and the double standard that the police imposed on law-abiding citizens versus known violent rioters is also unconscionable, and I think it marks the regime that we certainly live under now, which is not the land of the free and the home of the brave. It is a narco-tyranny.
Nick Rogers, why did you decide to step up and speak?
Well, I heard. I wasn't there. I heard what happened. I've made a lot of phone calls. I've watched some videos. I've done my due diligence. I won't speak until I know what I believe is the truth, because I get a lot of misinformation. A lot of people overreact. But basically what she just described is exactly what happened. And once I figured that out, I reached out and said, someone has to apologize. Somebody from the police side has to apologize, not only to Michelle, but to all the people that attended that pro-law enforcement rally. It is so wrong in every sense of any part of my being that why would we not have someone have reached out and at least offered an apology, whether that apology means anything to anyone that was there or to Michelle, but somebody has to do it. And that's why I made this call, is to say, I'm sorry on behalf.
Our guest,
excuse me. I'm sorry on behalf of the rank and file. That's not us. That's not who we are. And it just kills me that we let good people down. And I'll be honest with you. As I've done my due diligence, I did discover a couple of things. I found out that a retreat order was given by the incident commander. And we had one lieutenant step up and said, we're not leaving. And this lieutenant said, these people are going to get killed if we don't stay. So he kept his group there. And that's the only reason this thing didn't even get worse, because somebody broke ranks and decided to not retreat. And they stayed so that they could provide some assistance. And I'll be honest with you. I'm sad. It's embarrassing to me. And again, Michelle, anybody that's listening that was there, that's not the rank and file. That's not the cops. That decision was made by someone else, and it was wrong. And I'm sorry.
If I may, you're listening to Michelle Malkin, and one of the best guys ever. Michelle, I've known Nick forever, and when Stefan and myself and Mark went up and lived in Vancouver trying to stop this whole heroin, and that's, by the way, coming back, but I would daily text Nick and Nick's a narc, and then when we lived in Seattle to watch all of that, I daily would send Nick pictures and get updates and get advice from Nick. So that's the kind of a man Nick is. If I may, and I don't want to get anybody jammed up, who gave the retreat order, the best of your knowledge, Nick? Who gave the order to retreat?
The incident commander. Pete, I'm not going to
throw
him under the bus.
No, I understand that. Do you believe this?
I know who it is.
I understand. I think I do too.
I'm also not going to
tell
you the guy that saved the day. He's a freaking hero in my mind.
Listen, here's one, Michelle, and this goes back to another Nick Rogers moment. There is a monument outside the Cherokee building for fallen officers. It was trashed, and the former Chief White, made the police stay inside the Cherokee building. In fact, I was told they used her handcuffs to keep the doors closed from the protesters who were trying to get into the building that day, and they trashed this for men and women killed in the line of duty. That was one of the opening salvos. Now we come to this. Michelle, what would you like to ask Nick? Maybe I step out of line here. Maybe you'd like to ask something.
Well, I'd like to thank him for being stand-up. I'd like to thank him for understanding the gravity of this situation. And, I was shoved and pushed around, and I had stuff sprayed in my face, but it was nothing compared to the several people who were beaten badly and brutally. That's why I screamed. I mean, you can watch the entire live stream on my Twitter feed, 30 minutes, and how it completely degenerated from a nice gathering of patriotic people who were there to back the blue into complete anarchy. And you know what? Those of us who attended and those of us who organized it certainly weren't prepared. And I know that you've been very vocal about these kinds of events, Peter, and I suppose you could say, I told you so, and feel a little bit of, schadenfreude about the whole thing.
Not at all.
And if anything comes from it, and if I can just finish, if anything comes from it, and this is the message I am sending now, because I've been one of those people who's encouraged people to get off of the sidelines, because I have felt so passionately for more than a quarter century that we can't just sit in our offices, that we can't just sit in front of keyboards, that we need to be politically and civically and actively engaged. But if you're going to do it, you can't rely on the police. And I certainly appreciate Nick's sincerity and his heart. But the fact is, when push comes to bloody shove, ordinary citizens who want to back the blue. And by the way, since this happened, I've had invitations, half dozen of them all over the country, to come and travel and be with them. I can't do that because I can't pay for security. I'm not some multi-million-dollar celebrity. And you get what you pay for. If you have volunteer security, they're not going to be prepared because we're up against paramilitary forces that are supported by police chiefs like Paul Pazen, who linked arms with these people and who I heard the other day blaming us, the law-abiding citizens standing for police, for what happened. He blames the victim. He blames the victim. And unfortunately, rank-and-file cops, no matter how they feel about our support for them, are going to follow orders. And they're going to answer to their bosses who answer to the mob.
We have Michelle Malkin, who, of course, was beaten on that day, and, of course, the one and only Nick Rogers. This flies in the face of Paul Pazen's appearance with Stefan and also with Dan Kaplis, and she's absolutely right. I listened to both of them. I made the analysis that the woman wore a short skirts, and so that's why she got raped. And back to feeling good about none of these things, I truly expected, Randy has done this 5 times before. For whatever reason, and I think I know this is a new chief, a new regime, this mayor, the city council, manager of safety. But watching everything that's happened leading up to it, the rioting, the destructiveness in downtown Denver, the blaming the cops, what I want to know is, because yesterday when this conversation got going again, Michelle, and I said anybody who went there truly expected the Denver police to do their job, i.e. protect them. Now, we went through this before with Chief Metz in Aurora. The first time that the ICE detention center got taken down, Metz, I really do believe, gave exactly the same order that I think Pazen gave for Sunday. The second time, they decided there were going to be cops, and so the Antifa people didn't show up. Somebody on the inside knows stuff. Somebody tells somebody. In the case of Aurora, Michelle, somebody inside of that city council, there's plenty of self-proclaimed Marxists, told those Antifa characters, don't come because these guys got their turtle suits on and they're going to be cops. What I thought was going to happen on Sunday, big deal. What I think is I thought 5 other times the cops have shown up, 5 other times they'd stand up and they would protect, but that didn't happen. And that's where that gets off the leash, where the wheels come off. And I come back to Nick. Nick, why? Why did the guy stand down?
Pete, I've looked at it. I've been at these events before. I know how we operate. We've done hundreds of protests, hundreds, and we have never used that tactic before, especially when things are at such a heightened right now. It's such a heightened sense of it's just everybody's hypersensitive. People are angry. People are coming off the COVID lockdown, the riots. We failed in our tactics, and I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. I think I know why. Because this event was a pro-law enforcement rally, and I believe that discussions were had. And Pete, I have nothing. This is my gut feeling, and I think I'm right. I think they underreacted because they didn't want to have the appearance that they were taking one side or the other, and so they failed those people.
Michelle's right. That's laughable.
My God. I'm sorry. Okay, this police chief who blamed us kept harping on the fact that it was our fault that we didn't have enough private security in place, even as he admitted that 76 of your colleagues, Nick, 76 officers have been injured by these so-called peaceful agitators since the George Floyd incident, right? The Capitol's been trashed. More than $1 million worth of damage, including all of the statues like the ones that you mentioned, Peter. And he expects us to have provided enough security when he can't keep 76 officers safe from these animals? And then I've got all of these sideline, after-the-fact analysts telling me, well, why weren't you carrying? Why didn't you do something about it? Why were you wearing sandals and hoop earrings? It doesn't matter what I wore.
That's right.
And it doesn't matter what I carried, because if I had brandished my weapon, if I had used a weapon, like that Antifa woman in all black had her collapsible baton waving in front of me, what would have happened to me? I would be facing felony assault charges. I wouldn't be talking to you. I'd be in jail. The law-abiding are the criminals, and the criminals are protected.
It's Nick Rogers.
That's what we live in now.
Nick Rogers, head of the police union, Michelle Malkin, about what happened on Sunday. I like anybody else, there's been a sea change in this country. And the media coverage of what happened, all over the country, and I'm sure, Michelle, you've collected this, how this was portrayed. Yet in Denver, the betrayal was really horrible. In fact, the only thing Channel 9 did was ask whether or not the Denver police cut the gas loose. No, these people, but again, you would think on a First Amendment situation, and Randy pulled a permit, as they say. This is his 6th time. And I'm told Pazen told Randy, I don't know this, I'm told it, we don't want you here. What the hell kind of a deal is that? We don't want you here. Nick, what do you, guys are coming to say,
Pete, I can speak to that. They didn't tell him we don't want you here. They told him we think something bad might happen, which it kind of flies in the face of
then they knew. Then they knew. Yeah,
they knew. Yeah, exactly. So they tried to talk him out of doing it. They tried to talk him out and said, look, we go to the Pepsi Center. Go to the Pepsi Center where we can protect you better. I don't think that's not an excuse, because let's just call it what it is. They got a permit, for Christ's sake, from the 28th of May until the 1st of June, 5 days of riots. Antifa didn't pull a single permit.
That's right.
But yet we reacted and did what we did during those riots, and we failed on Sunday. And I have an analogy, Pete, that I thought about. In these situations, whether it's pro-abortion, anti-abortion, and those two groups come to meet in the middle, and they're coming at each other. We would never let those two groups come face to face. We would form a skirmish line, and we would not allow them to physically assault or do anything to the other side, right? Whether you're pro-life, whatever, it doesn't matter. See, we as police officers, we're not able to root for one side or the other. Like the Broncos and the Raiders. We don't get a root for one side or the other. We're not allowed to let one side win. But guess what? We did on Sunday.
Yeah.
And for that, we were wrong. And for that, an apology should be made to Michelle and every person that was there.
You root for the First Amendment. You root for Michelle's right and Randy's right and everybody's right to be there and say what they wanted to say. But these people came and attacked them. Michelle, and this is a sincere apology. This is a very good man. What do you say to the apology?
Well, like I said, I appreciate it. But then there's, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Okay, because as Nick said, and I appreciate your sincerity and I appreciate your heart. And, you mentioned that you're speaking on behalf of the rank and the file. I haven't heard from anybody else, which I think is worth noting, because when we did the Stand with ICE rallies, I heard from ICE agents all across the country. We had ICE leadership that met with us beforehand at rallies, that attended the rallies as well, in part to make sure that we were safe. And so I'd like to believe, Nick, that you do represent the folks there and that they feel the same way. And I'm especially appreciative of this lieutenant that you said, kept other people safe who had stayed around for, almost an hour after I and others had left. But the bottom line here is that there were political decisions that were made, that the backlash from the cop-hating mob was too high a price to pay in order to protect our basic constitutional rights to freedom of speech, freedom of association, and freedom of assembly. And that sends a message. And the message is, maybe it's not worth it to come out for ordinary citizens to risk our safety and our lives to stand for the blue. And it raises an existential question that if we back the blue, what happens when the blue doesn't back us? Yeah. And so this becomes a larger issue of our right to armed self-defense and our right to protect our Second Amendment rights. Because if we can't depend on you, then we have to depend on ourselves. And this is what is really alarming and disturbing, because we now have elites in place, whether they're police chiefs who kneel before Black Lives Matter and Antifa, or whether they're Soros district attorneys and circuit attorneys who are going to turn around and put law-abiding people in jail for opposing these people. Who do we have left to protect us?
Yesterday, in a heated part of this, although it doesn't apply, it applies, played Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Ohio, when they say we're finally on our own. And what dawned on me after listening and watching and listening and watching, Michelle, I think you hit the chord. We're on our own. With respect to Nick, and I heard from tons of Denver cops, tons of Jefferson County guys and Douglas County guys, steam's coming out of their ears. But a little bit too late, and now what? So, Michelle,
they're going to do the same thing.
Of course.
You're going to do the same
Of
thing,
course.
Nick. Tell me you're going to have rank-and-file cops, to defy a stand-down order, defy a retreat order and stand with us. It's not going to happen.
Well, but Michelle, it did happen because that SWAT lieutenant, he did not listen to the stand-down order. He did not retreat. If he had not stayed, it would have been a lot worse. I'm telling you right now, he's a friend of mine. I won't mention his name. He'd be mad at me if I did. But he's a hero, and so he broke ranks, and so maybe that's what has to happen. Maybe somebody stands up the next time and says, "Nah." Because I'll be honest with you, Michelle, if I was there. And again, you don't know me, and I don't know you, and I promise you, I would have broke ranks for you.
The real question now, Michelle.
Too many good cops.
The real question now, Michelle, is see if this lieutenant, ends up out of DIA writing tickets.
He won't. I promise you guys, he won't.
Okay. All right.
I won't let that happen to him.
Michelle, I got one more question because I know everybody's got this time. Michelle, had you known that what was going to happen, how differently would you have approached it, and how differently wonder Randy would have done differently? Because there were elderly people that got smacked around down there, and it's always been my fear. What would you have done differently for you personally? Because you got the heart of a lion, but what would you have done differently?
Well, I would have gone, and my husband would have been incredibly mad at me, I'm sure, because that's the kind of person I am. That's why I defied all of the doubters when we did our very first Stand with ICE rally in Aurora, because it's something that I believed in, and I wanted to do more than just talk the talk. I wanted to walk the walk. That's how I've lived my life. That's how I've conducted my career. So, of course, I would have gone. But, yeah, I would have worn combat boots. And, yeah, I would have had more armed security with me, and I would have made sure that there were enough people there to make sure that they would not have come past the stage. And I've talked with a lot of my friends, many of them women, because if you pay attention, Peter, you'll notice that it's women in large part who are leading these anti-lockdown rallies, anti-mask mandate rallies, pro-police rallies.
If I may.
I would have made sure that there were men in front of us, not just behind us.
If you watch that tactic, I'll go back to they send the women first. The men are behind them.
Yeah, they do. That's what they do.
They send the women first, yes. So. Absolutely. Please, Nick.
Michelle, I don't know you. I've seen some of your stuff. I've watched some of your stuff since this has occurred. I hope you don't give up the fight because it's too important. And you gotta I've always said the glass is half full. And I will not change my thoughts on that. And you can't either. You can't give up. I mean, I know it's right now the world's upside down and things aren't right. But there's too many good cops. There's too many good people. People are going to do the right thing. And I mean, this was a bad day for us. But we have a code of ethics. It's in our operations manual. And it starts out, as a law enforcement officer, my fundamental duty is to serve mankind, safeguard lives, property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder. We violated our own code of ethics. We can never do it again, period.
Michelle.
It can't happen again. I'll stand up with you, Michelle.
All right.
Don't give up, please.
Michelle, last comment.
I appreciate that, Nick. I appreciate that. It's hard to listen to you and not want to just cry my eyes out. But I want to send a message to your colleagues, the ones who are silent, the ones who just followed orders and if their conscience didn't bother them, I'm talking to them, not you, because more of them need to be like you, Nick. It is humiliating for ordinary citizens to go to a Back the Blue rally and then watch as their fellow attendees are beaten over the head with longboards and bullhorns. It is humiliating to go to a Back the Blue rally and watch the police officers watch women be strangled by Antifa people who want police officers dead. And it is a huge disincentive to hold another Back the Blue rally, to risk our lives when police officers follow the orders of police chiefs and elites who don't care that statues are coming down, that the historic American nation is literally burning every single day. It's been 55 days since George Floyd has been exploited as a pretext to defund the police and to undermine law and order in this country. My parents are immigrants from the Philippines who came here to secure the American dream. I mentioned that I'm the granddaughter of a police officer. I've got blue in my blood too, Nick. And if rank-and-file police officers are just going to dutifully follow along and watch our country and watch fellow citizens be threatened for standing up for it, we're not going to come out for you anymore.
This may be the most...
You're on your own. We're on our own.
See there? Michelle.
Bottom line.
Michelle, it's Peter. Can we get you back tomorrow by yourself? Can we get you a drop on the show tomorrow just to let you rock?
Yes, I'll talk to your...
Right. Nick, I'll call you this afternoon. Michelle, I'll put you on hold. Nick, I love you, man. I'm proud of you. You are who I've always believed. Nick Rogers, everyone, Union Head. Thank you, Michelle. I love you. Both of you guys are on hold. Probably the most powerful half-hour talk radio I've been involved in a long time. 710 KNUS.